welcome back. With Webster Griffin Tarpley, I'm Jeff Rense. A terrific conversation underway tonight. Hope you've been part of it. If not, stay tuned. Much ahead. All right, Webster, let's go.
Well, we've got the Bilderberger group, therefore, meeting in Bavaria at this picturesque lake in the early May of 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's a group of the finance oligarchs, top government officials, people that are important in the world of culture. A lot of heads of state, heads of government. For example, the Queen of the Netherlands was there. You had David Rockefeller. You had various Rothschilds. You had, very important, the Secretary General of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, Jaap Hoop de Scheffer. He's Dutch, and he's the NATO General Secretary. So he's the head of the NATO bureaucracy near Brussels. I don't have the complete list of all of the politicians that were there, but it's a long list. It's basically a very significant cross-section of the top levels of this oligarchical ruling elite of the Western world. In particular, you've got Michael Ledeen, Richard Pearl, and William Luty. And I think this is important because these are three people that share a fanatical devotion to the Iraq War, desire to widen that to an Iran and Syria war as well. And interestingly enough, they're all facing criminal indictment. Ledeen in the question of the Niger yellow cake forgeries, right? Mm-hmm. The thing that was behind the Valerie Plame scandal. Mm-hmm. Richard Pearl is up to his neck in the fraudulent bankruptcy and embezzlement case against Lord Conrad Black, because he was on the board of directors of the Hollinger Corporation, or one of these other holding companies that Black had. And then Luty, who was in the Pentagon with Feith and Wolfowitz and the rest of them. So here we have the cooking of the Iraq intelligence, the Valerie Plame question, Ahmed Chalabi, and so forth. So we have this entire group meeting, and one of the participants is then a certain Anders Eldrep of Denmark. He's the head of the Danish oil and natural gas company. So Anders Eldrep is a participant. He's a Bilderberger regular. He's been there for 5 years. He is the husband of Merete Eldrep. And again, it's Mereteeldrep. So this Merete Eldrep is the managing director of J.P. Politikens Hus. So that's the holding company, the publishing firm that owns Julian's Posten, that published the Muhammad cartoons.
Well, there's the link.
And this Politiken also. So it's a leading right-wing neocon publishing house in Denmark. Now, I think that's already significant, because the Bilderberger group, I think sometimes it's overrated. What I think they're good for is they are a place where a preconceived line is presented to a group of people who are going to help to carry it out.
It's good to hear you say that, Webster, because so many people misunderstand. They think policy is actually forged there, and it's not. Not to anything I can discern, anyway.
I don't think so. I think the policy has got to be made by the time you start this meeting. And I suppose if there were grave objections, this might register somehow. But generally, I think that the stuff is all decided somehow at a higher level in meetings that are quite informal, that you never hear about, that don't have an official list, that can't be penetrated by enterprising journalists or what have you. Just give a couple of examples. The way I see the Bilderberger it's something like this. It's to plan a more or less specific action in the next year or so. The Kyoto, Japan meeting of the Bilderberg in 1975 was supposedly where Gianni Agnelli of Fiat, right, the head of this broken-down automobile company that's now in the city where the Olympics are being held, and
I don't know how Fiat, right? How can it still be in business? But anyway,
it's still in business. And,
I know.
I'm sure they could, with proper management, they could make good cars, because they have, design and all that.
They haven't yet.
All right. So this is where Gianni Agnelli presented Jimmy Carter as the next president of the United States to the assembled oligarchy. So there was a specific operation. Let's make Carter the next president. More important for my purposes is the 1973 Bilderberger. They generally have these things in the springtime. 73, I think, was in March in this place called Saltsjöbaden, Sweden. It's a suburb of Stockholm where you have the Grand Hotel, among other things. So this was the one where they said, we're going to have an oil crisis. We're going to have a fake Middle East war organized by Henry Kissinger, and then we're going to pump up the price of oil as much as the traffic will bear. Because remember, the 1973 oil crisis was a fake. It was a fraud. There was never an interruption of supply. The supply, indeed, was probably greater than it had ever been, but it provided this opportunity to go into the New York speculative markets and bid it up, which they did to the tune of 400%. That was key to saving the dollar, saving the U.S. banking system, and so forth. So it would seem to me that that one of the themes of this Bilderberger group, and it's difficult to confirm it because, of course, they're secretive, would have been the need to attack Iran and the need to get Europe involved. And I think that's something that's well within the capabilities of the Bilderberger. Now, there's an even more specific aspect. The guy at Jyllands-Posten who ordered the publication of these cartoons is a certain Fleming Rose.
Right.
So Fleming Rose doesn't really look like a typical arts and crafts figure. He had been the correspondent in Moscow and apparently knew Russian pretty well. Now, that would indicate something more, right? Maybe some kind of a background that might point more in the direction of intelligence agencies or something like that. Be that as it may, what we know for sure about Fleming Rose is that he's a great friend of Daniel Pipes. And this tells us a lot. Now, Daniel Pipes, yet another of the neocon fascist madmen, and he really is a prize case. This guy is the head of Campus Watch. And if you're a professor, if you have a kind word for the Arabs, for the PLO, for any Islamic cause of any kind, then what Daniel Pipes wants to do is to send spies into your classroom and write down or tape or film the things you say, and then put you up on the website and try to get you fired, try to get your tenure revoked. It's a neo-McCarthyite organization of the most scurrilous kind. And that's Daniel Pipes. Now, he is a nepotist in the sense that his father was Richard Pipes. Back in 1976, Bush the elder decided that he wanted to challenge the CIA estimates about the Soviet Union and what their intentions were. So he did what the neocons generally do. They create a fake parallel CIA outside of the real one because the real one is not bad enough for them. I'm sure it's very bad, but it's not bad enough for the things that they want to do. So in this case, Daniel Pipes of Harvard became, and he was a Russian studies expert, became the head of this, or that he became the central figure, I guess we'd have to say, the chairman, the president of Team B, the quarterback of Team B, who then came up with this inflammatory notion about the window of vulnerability and all the terrible things the Soviets were preparing. So this is now his son, and it's fair to say that his son is where he is because of this nepotistic connection. Bush loves Daniel Pipes, so much so that he wanted to make him a member of the board of the United States Institute of Peace, which is an arm of the State Department, and its goal is not peace, but something else. It's kind of Orwellian there, too. Pipes was a candidate to become the head of, a member of the board of the United States Institute of Peace, but he couldn't get through the Senate confirmation because he was so discredited as an extremist, a racist, a bigot, a hate monger, and so forth. So in 2003, I guess it was, he received a recess appointment, and I don't know whether he's still there, but he may still be there. It depends on when the recess appointment ran out.